I made it for my job so that they could get a stamp every time they go to an event. So that they go to other schools. They're friends with them. It's factored in. Um, like this, the best series. It's like
No problem. I think we should aim for a record meeting time today.
Oh, yeah.
I think we can do 30 minutes. We have 3 appointments. That's it. Nothing else. Huh?
It's a wrong room. We done. Does anyone lightning cable? I can charge my phone.
Maximum 45. You'll see.
Of course.
I think. Josh. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I call this meeting to order at 7:04 p.m. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Have you?
Can we please strike bag allocations?
Yes. Nico.
Hi, can I please strike USA/BOD allocations?
Alicia.
Can I please strike ARC allocations and add an executive session?
For what?
Personnel matter.
Yes. Do you have to vote on that?
No.
Can you motion?
Oh, no motion. Wait,
Can you motion to add it?
I motion add an executive session for a personnel matter.
Second.
On Alicia motions, Javi seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that is approved. Bethany?
Can we please strike capital contingency allocations?
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me right now?
No.
Can you hear me right now?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Can we please strike capital contingency allocations?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other amendments to the agenda? Josh?
Hi, can I please add a $5,000 discretionary funds transfer to ISU?
Yeah. I see it. Okay, can you motion?
Yeah, I motion to add a $5,000 discretionary fund transfer to ISU.
Second.
I second.
Was that Tamim? Josh motions, Tamim seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that motion passes. Are there any other amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, can we please get a motion to approve the agenda? Robbie.
Motion to, whoa, that was loud. Motion to approve the October 22nd USAC agenda.
Second that motion.
Robbie motions, Chris Espino seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that motion passes. What minutes do we have to approve? And sorry? Could someone motion for October 15th?
I move to approve the minutes from the October 15th USAC meeting.
Second.
Javi motions, Robbie seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 votes, that motion passes. I think it's coming out of the speaker. Yeah, it's coming out of here. Okay, we're now going to move on to public comment. Just a reminder for everyone, we have 30 minutes total. Each speaker has 2 minutes to give public comment. And some of our community guidelines is challenge ideas, not individuals, use gender inclusive and respectful language, and no dehumanizing language. With that being said, do we have anyone in person that's here for public comments? Nilaya.
Hi guys. My name is Nalaya. I'm familiar with most of you in my role as TGIF Vice Chair and former FAC, but I'm coming to you today as one of the internal vice presidents of the Indian Student Union. We've been planning to hold our Garba event this Saturday, October 26th, for several months, and it's arguably our most important and most visible event. We serve hundreds of attendees every single year with cultural food, music, performances, and it's a really valuable connection for a lot of our students and community members to Indian culture in and of itself. This event has always been a very expensive one to host, and as you're all probably aware, UCLA events office quotes can be pretty hefty. Our quote prices increase every year, and with the help of contingency, USA BOD, SSP, and CPC regular funding, we've always been able to scrape by. This year, due to a delay in USA BOD publishing, which I know was totally out of your control, and the delay in appointments to the Campus Programs Committee, we've received very little confirmed funding. Our event currently has an overall cost of $15,976.34, and we're currently in a deficit of just over $9,500. It's my understanding that CPC won't be meeting until tomorrow in order to review applications, and our event is Saturday. Because we're meant to have a hearing for CPC regular before being allocated any funding, there's no guarantee that we're going to be able to reach the $10,000 minimum that is required by UCLA Events Office to not cancel our rentals in our event. I'm aware that because of funding cuts in other spaces, there's a larger discretionary funding pot this year. So I'm here to ask for your assistance and any advice on how to proceed. We would really appreciate any funding that can be allocated from discretionary funds, and we would be sure to return any unused funds, which is completely possible as confirmed by SGS. This is something that I've been chasing down for 2 weeks and have really been fighting for. And this is an event that's very personally important to me and a lot of other people in UCLA. So I would really like your help in being able to host this. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nilaya. Is anyone else here for public comment in person? Do we have anyone online that's here for public comment? Oh, yes. Go. Public comment's only open to members, to undergraduate members of UCLA. So unfortunately, you cannot give public comment. But thank you. Well, thank you anyways. Is anyone online here for public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment at 7:10 p.m. And we're going to move on to funding, starting with contingency. We have Bethany.
This week, we had a total contingency programming request of $42,594, and we recommend an allocation of $15,052.35 for 28 non-USAC entities and 1 USAC entity. I also just wanted to point out that there is an allocation for our quarterly FICOM retreat that you can see on the funding allocation for $650. Just want to put that out to you guys, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'll go ahead and paste that to the chat as well.
I believe Orlando has a comment.
Yeah, no, this is just a request for all the funds right now. If you could all post it in the chat, we'd really appreciate the note takers. Thank you.
Could someone please motion for the allocation?
Damn. Okay, I vote to approve the recommended allocation for contingency funding for $15,052.35 for 28 non-USAC entities and 1 USAC entity.
I second that motion.
Have you motions? Chris Espino seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, 13-0 vote, that motion passes and contingencies allocated. We're now going to move on to SFS with Carolyn.
Hi, I'm about to put it in the chat after as well if I can get promoted. For SFS this week, we had a request of, sorry. No, you're good. Of $10,641.45. We allocated $9,255.84 for 6 non-USAC entities and 1 USAC entity.
Is there any opposition? Seeing none, we're going to move on to SWC Programming Fund with Kiara.
Yes, hi everyone. Let's see. Unfortunately, I'm missing the amount requested. I can find that and send it to the chat, but we had a total, I'll put it in the chat. We had a total allocated, the total allocated to three non-USAC entities was $1,335 dollars and 20 cents. And this was to three non-USAC entities.
Thank you, Kiara. Is there any opposition to that allocation? Seeing none, we're now going to move on to ASRF allocations with Chris Espino.
Thanks, Adam. For this week, we've allocated $700 to one non-USAC entity for the Academic Success Referendum Fund.
Is there any opposition to that allocation? Seeing none, we're going to move on to the AAC Travel Mini Grant with Chris Espino.
Thanks. I have my number down here so I don't forget. All right. So for this week, we allocated $2,475 to 7 non-USAC entities.
Is there any opposition to that allocation? Seeing none, we're going to move on to TGIF with Alex.
Hi, this week TGIF had a requested allocation amount of $5,717.80 and a recommended allocation amount of $5,155.55 for 0 USAC entities and 5 non-USAC entities.
Thank you, Alex. Is there any opposition to that allocation? Jonathan.
For TGIF, you don't approve those, so it's just a report.
Sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Alex. We're now going to move on to appointments, starting with the Budget Review Director. We have, sorry, I don't want to say your name wrong. We have Mafraha. Could you please stand up? Thank you so much. So just a reminder for all appointments, we're going to start off with a 1-minute opening statement, followed by a 15-minute question and answer period, and then ending off with a 1-minute closing statement. After that, we're going to hear ARC's recommendations, have council deliberations, and then vote on the appointment. With that being said, whenever you're ready, please go ahead with your 1-minute opening statements.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mafruha Rahman Isha, and I'm a sophomore at UCLA studying biochemistry and applied mathematics. I applied for the USAC Budget Review Director position, and I believe I'm a great fit for this position because of my prior experiences dealing with budgets that range from $10,000 to $100,000. I've dealt with this internationally and nationally, handling medical missions and planning funding resources, disaster reliefs, and whatnot. I believe that all this, it has given me skills with reviewing applications and has made me very detail oriented. I've dealt with professionals from various backgrounds, which has given me the ability to work under any circumstances placed with. I think that these skills are very important for someone who's a part of USAC and someone who's going to be reviewing budgets and dealing with a lot of student organizations. I make sure that nothing goes unwatched under my watch, and that's something I'm going to bring to USAC if I were to be offered this position. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're now going to move on to the 15-minute question and answer period. With that being said, do any council members have any questions? Nico.
Hello. Within the Budget Review Director role, how do you plan to utilize transparency between the funding allocations in the student body?
So first of all, I'm going to make sure that before the funding is even notified to the student organization, they're aware of everything that we are able to give to them. And I'm going to make sure that when we receive the funding, it's very, very detailed. Money is a very important factor in making sure anything runs very, very smoothly. And in order to make sure that's a possibility, one thing I can do as a budget review director is that the applications we receive are very detailed. And once I get that, I would make sure that everyone in USAC is aware of what each student organization is asking for. And I think that would ensure in us giving the proper amount of money to a student organization. I hope that answers your question.
Any other questions from council members? Alex.
Hi, thank you for being here today. I have one question, which is what outreach strategies will you use for the next 2 quarters of applications to effectively outreach to student organizations?
I think one of the biggest problems student organizations face in UCLA when trying to plan events is they don't have enough information on the budgets that are available. One thing I definitely ensure is making sure that we use the social media platforms we have available to us and make a lot of posts on what we have available for student organizations. I know a lot of clubs around campus are inclusive, want to be inclusive, and it's very important to the students here that these clubs have fundings to plan events. And in order to make sure that these clubs have the funding, I would make sure that they're aware of how to get the funding. And to make that a possibility, I'd use social media, Daily Bruin, and any other social media platforms that there is available to me.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for the applicants? Nico.
So since the budget review director, this is not your fault, it was just like an appointment that's been open for a long time, so you're coming late into the role. How do you plan to kind of, I guess, like catch up and make sure that when you come into this role with allocations, like with such a tight turnaround, how you're gonna like manage kind of all the work that's in front of you to make sure that the budget review role can be fulfilled to its full potential and also support the student orgs as quickly as possible?
I think a little bit of background on me would give you an answer to why I would definitely be a good fit for this, is because I ran a student organization in UCLA, and because there was no budget review director, my budgets got put back, and I had to deal with all of the backdraw of it, and it's like tens of thousands of dollars. So I understand that the stress other student organizations are going through. I personally would not want that stress on anyone. So I'd make sure that UCLA falls second in my list of priorities, first academics, then USAC budget review director position. So I'd make sure I'd get the applications ready, all scanned, and make sure that if there's something I require extra from the student organizations, I'd give them an email immediately and just have open communication with them. I think is the best way to go.
Thank you. Any other questions before we move on? Seeing none, whenever you're ready, please go ahead with your 1-minute closing statements.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity, for letting me come in and give you a little bit of background on me. I really admire the work that USAC does. I'm a sophomore, and ever since last year, I've really, really looked up to USAC. For me, USAC would fall second in my list of priorities. I'd make sure I get my work done, and I'd make sure I'm a good team player and an independent worker when need be. So I would love this opportunity if it's given to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We are now going to hear ARC's recommendations.
Mafruha had an excellent interview with ARC. ARC was extremely impressed with her experience with budget review and financial management, having been responsible for tens of thousands of dollars for disaster relief management. ARC was excited to see some of Mafruha's goals for the committee this year, including working directly with student organizations so they can better understand the application process and reaching out to smaller student organizations who may not be familiar with BOD funding. With a 3-0 vote, ARC recommends Mafruha for this appointment.
Thank you, Josh. We're now going to move on to council member deliberations. Do any council members have any comments or concerns about the applicants? Seeing none, can we please get a motion to vote? Alex?
Hi, sorry, I think it was delayed. I motion to appoint Mafruha Esha to the budget review director position. Was that
A
good?
second.
Alex motions, Josh seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that motion passes, and Mafruha is appointed to the budget review director position. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we have the CAB chair with Josh. This is a consent item, so just want to read ARC's recommendations.
Yes, Iman had an excellent interview with ARC. Iman demonstrated a clear passion for this project during her interview, having already worked on outreaching to a plethora of student organizations to revive CAB during the summer. Iman also had excellent ideas to ensure the longevity of CAB, including inviting smaller student orgs and ensuring each of them had a say in the direction of the committee. With a 2-0 vote, ARC highly recommends Iman for this appointment.
Thank you, Josh. Since this is a consent item, is there any opposition to this appointment? Seeing none, we're going to move on to our final committee of the day with the Campus Retention Committee. We have Jassi. Perfect timing. Hey, whenever you're ready, please go ahead with your 1-minute opening statements.
Okay, so hi, thank you all for having me here today. My name's Jazzy Remejo. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a traditional third year student majoring in HBS on the Bachelor's of Science um, track. And then so for today, I believe that I would be a good fit for the Campus Retention Committee appointment, largely because of the combination of my passion for community advocacy and self-fueled ambition in playing into that. In my time here at UCLA so far, I've been able to involve myself in various activities that are rooted in those things. So for example, I'm currently involved in Samahang Filipino as the president for the current academic year. And a lot of my work in that organization operates on the basis of supporting students' holistic retention and wellness, whether it be culturally, socially, politically, or academically. And so with that in mind, I'm looking to extend this to the greater student body by applying to sit on the CRC as the SWC's representative. And yes, that's all for my opening.
Thank you so much. We're now going to move on to a 15-minute question and answer period. Do any council members have any questions? Thanks, Gail.
Sorry, it's an honor to meet you. I've been in the CRC space before, so thank you for taking up this role, for being here, first and foremost. My question for you is, how would you like USAC to support the Campus Retention Committee and or the SIOC committee as well? And just in general for the mother org projects, what does that look like for you and what you want out of us? Um, and another question I would pose is like, what do you think are the most pressing issues within the CRC space? Like in when I was retention court, I remember a big issue was just like CPO treatment. And so I just wanted to know if there's anything that, you know, I know this is an interview, but like if there's anything you already know, like from being involved in the space that you want to let us know of, that we can help out with, I would really appreciate that.
So I might have to ask you to ask the second part again. But as for the first part, what I would like, could you repeat the first part? Sorry, it was like
Yeah, like what I guess like what collaboration would you like to see an improvement in relationship between USAC and the CRC and or just in general the projects with the MOs? Um or like what do you hope to gain support from in light of like the issues faced by the Campus Retention Committee?
Okay, so being like the student wellness commissioner's representative, a lot of that would be in line with Kiara. And I haven't had the ability to personally connect with her yet, but obviously that's something that I would look forward to doing if I were to be appointed to this position. I had the opportunity of being the SWC's representative for the latter half of spring quarter last year. And something that I really wanted to emphasize was just maintaining that line of communication between the commissioner and being the rep as well, just because, as you stated, the CRC is a very tense environment in terms of how the project operates, both in respect to campus administration and within the student body as well. But with everything that was happening on campus and the university's response to that, communication wasn't exactly able to be streamlined. So I think just both like a two-way, like open line of communication, both wherein obviously I reached out to my like who I'm representing as like their rep on the committee, but also them reaching out as well, because that was something that wasn't really seen last year and something that I hope to see for the next academic year, considering that this is a year-long position. So I really think like it is a basic thing to ask for, but I think just like the self-initiated desire to personally hear out like what's going on in the committee space and like understanding like the environment, what's going on with the projects, what's going on in terms of like budget allocations and stuff. That's something that's largely emphasized and like takes up a lot of effort and time and like energy in that space. So I think really just like making sure that it's personally being attended to and also supported by the other USAC officers, just because the CRC is like accommodating underrepresented students. And yeah, just having that space and like making sure that relationship is maintained and strengthened throughout the year, I think would be really important. And then could you repeat the second part?
Yeah, like what are some issues being faced by like the Campus Retention Committee and or just in general the projects for the mother orgs? For example, like in my time and like a lot of people's time it's been just the treatment from CPO, but I just wanted to know if there's any like issues currently that are different or the same. And that's just more for us to also get to know so that we can do something. for you?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, like obviously relationships with the CPO are very tense and like interacting with like both student employees and like full-time employees from the CPO office are very tense, and navigating those relationships are definitely something that aren't officially overseen by like USAC obviously, but I think obviously just like being able to be well informed of what's going on personally and professionally within the committee and those that interact with them as stakeholders, it would be really important. Um, and issues with that, obviously the CPO, that is still ongoing. And like, I'm not on the committee yet, but being adjacent to it, like in the position that I am being president of Samahawk Filipino and still hearing the stories about how like people from my organization are being treated by other members who are closely aligned with CPO and stuff like that is something I think like I would obviously be bringing up in conversations with the commissioner and obviously brought up here as well, I'm assuming. Other issues like all of the MOs intend to represent like underserved communities, but obviously like being given very limited space by the university and being given very limited funds, I think one thing is that the budget for the CRC hasn't been increasing with the demand and like obviously how money overall is like everything is being inflated and the funds are not matching that. And that's something that's causing the MOs to have to fight each other essentially in the committee to serve their own communities. Because obviously all of the representatives are the retention cords from each Mother Org's retention project. And obviously they want to seek the funds that best serve their communities, but doing so takes away money from other communities as well. And so it kind of just creates that really tense environment wherein you want the best for your community and you obviously want the best for other communities that you're allied with, being like like people who the MOs serve, like their bodies are inherently political, but the CRC is not set up in a way where they allow committee members to uplift each other. It's basically just like it's kind of like a bloodbath. Like having all of the MO projects fight each other for money to serve the students in a way where the university should be already, but we're having to do that ourselves. So that's another really pressing issue, and that creates a lot of personal and professional tension, like I already mentioned. But I think those are definitely conversations that I would want to take up if I were to be appointed, and something that I would really want to emphasize in creating that line of communication with the commissioner.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Kiara.
Hi there. Thanks so much for being here tonight. Apologies I couldn't be there to see you in person. But yeah, I echo the sentiment that Alicia said and the question, and I've gotten to learn a little bit about, your work last spring, working with also as the rep for SWC. And I look forward to, connecting more with between CRC and SWC in the coming year and how we can support. And so the question that I wanted to ask you is kind of going off of the previous question and drawing from your experiences that you've had, what are some specific goals you have this year? They could pertain to the challenges you just mentioned facing students on campus, but what are the some like 1 to 2 goals that you have for the year, and what are the specific steps that you would take to approach accomplishing these?
Overall, as I previously mentioned, the CRC is a very tense space. And it's essentially where you're trying to fend for your own project, while trying to ensure that the communities that you're allied with are also receiving the resources and the funding that they have. And I think just being on the committee, it's also a very simple sentiment, but I think it's also something that's often overlooked when people step into new positions, is really just like understanding the different niches and understanding the ins and outs of the committees in terms of its history, what's ongoing and what's being set up for the future of the projects, and like in terms of the committee as well. And I think really just gaining that deeper understanding, I want to be able to create that sense of harmony that the CRC is supposed to be creating, rather than something that's more divisive. And in doing so, like I would be familiarizing myself with the different representatives from each MO and understanding like what they seek from the CRC, and figuring out what I can do as a USAC appointment in terms of helping each mother project or like mother organization understand what each respective retention project is looking for, and how you can do so in a way that is both accommodating of what your community needs in terms of the resources that aren't given from the university, and in term and how that can be in harmony and like kind of synchronize with what other projects are looking for. And it's honestly a really difficult task considering like people in the mother organizations shouldn't be having to do the work that they're doing to receive the basic necessities and receive the basic resources that the CRC is like providing. Like, yes, it's wonderful that you're given this budget to give to these projects, but these are things that should be given already and that these students shouldn't have to work for and put hours on the line and like I guess put their own retention on the line for the sake of their community's overall retention. And so it's basically a long-winded way of saying like my goal is just to gain like a very holistic understanding of what each representative is looking for on the committee and trying to create that harmony between each member in order for the CRC to, I guess, move in unison because the goal of the committee overall is to help like marginalized communities' retention. But just the way that it's systematized by the university doesn't set that up for success 100% of the time. So really just committing that time and effort into, yeah, understanding both on the surface level and on a deeper level of what each project, each person is trying to get from the CRC. Yeah, and kind of unifying that, if that answered your question.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from council members? Seeing none, whenever you're ready, please go ahead with your 1-minute closing statement.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah, basically, so again, my name's Jazzy Rajo, she, her pronouns, traditional third year. And having filled this role for the past, like the last spring quarter of the last academic year, I really was eager to be able to contribute to the space. And I personally was really close to my predecessor, who had previously filled the position, and understanding what it was like to sit on the committee and make those decisions and be in on those budget allocations and those meetings where you're making these different fiscal decisions that are really important and vital to maintaining and strengthening these different mother organizations. I was drawn to the space and like I was really looking forward to giving back to these communities, not only just to my personal one, but those that I align myself with because all of our struggles are intertwined. And so given the nature of my appointment and how short it was, considering it was only half of a quarter, I still maintain that strong desire to contribute to the CRC's functioning overall and being able to ally myself with other communities that it serves.
Thank you. We're now going to hear ARC's recommendations.
Jazzy had an impressive interview with ARC. Serving as the current president of Samahan Filipino, Jazzy demonstrated a clear passion for uplifting marginalized communities and improving retention rates. Having served in this committee last year as SWC's appointment, Jazzy also demonstrated a necessary understanding of the complex history of CPO and its issues, and is dedicated to understanding the history of CRC and uplifting the mother organizations on campus. With a 3-0 vote, ARC recommends Jazzy for this appointment.
Thank you, Josh. Unless anyone has any concerns or comments, Elisa, go ahead.
I just have a comment. I just want to say that Jazzy is someone that I've never like personally met you, but I like really trust you with this because of your responses. And I hope that there can be much more communication, not just between your commissioner, but with all of USAC, because we deal with like if you need money being withheld from CPO, and we deal with like supporting you financially. Like when I was in the CRC, we were talking a lot about like running referendum because like the referendums for CRC projects, like a lot of them weren't adjusted to inflation back in the day. And it's just it is a bloodbath for the projects like to decide who's getting how much money. And it is just a lot of problems coming our way with institutional repression. And I mean, we could do a bigger conversation about this another day. I don't want to take up too much time. I'm just gonna say I really appreciate you taking on this role. It's really, really hard, and really, really taxing. Me being an RC, that was just a lot for me. So being the chair, I just really commend you and thank you for doing this.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments before we move to a vote? Seeing none, could we please get a motion?
I move to appoint Hasi Bermejo to the Campus Retention Committee.
I
Chair.
second.
Elisa motions, Tamim seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13 to 0 vote, that motion passes and Jazzy is appointed to CRC. Thank you. We are now going to move on to officer reports, starting with myself. Everything's going to be written. Maybe I'll give a highlight. What's something fun? Oh, I'm going to be the student representative to the LA Olympic Village Planning Committee, which is pretty fun. And we'll move on to Josh.
Okay, I'll keep most of my stuff written today too. Thank you to everyone that came to the Campus Safety Alliance meeting. We'll be following up for a recap meeting after this week. And then we also have a couple events coming up. This Friday, we're doing an event in the makerspace. You'll be able to customize your own t-shirts and tote bags from 2 to 4 p.m. and it's all free, so please show up. And then also FAC and IVP are doing a Learn to Ride event on Friday, and there's going to be free merch from UCLA Transportation from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. in Gateway Plaza. But yeah, everything else will be written in my officer report.
Javi.
All right, I'm also going to keep it pretty short. First and foremost, I would love to congratulate one of our staffers, Jaya, for being the first ever UCSA Caucus and Community Appointed Officer. So looking forward to the contributions that they're going to make in reaching out to underrepresented student groups here on UCLA and system-wide. Let's see. Other important things. We had our admin check-in today, Adam and I, with Mick DeLuca and Seppi, to mainly discuss the police response to yesterday's Sukkot. Also, talk about student support with the upcoming CAE disability service audit, and also talks about continued support to the Bruin Resource Center and our Bruin Underground Scholars. And let's see. I also was able to join the UCSA Black Student Success Officer and UCSA President in their monthly call with the African Black Coalition to meet with other Black Student Union chairs and discuss further collaboration and advocacy specific to Black students. And then last but not least, before I make the rest written, we attended the first day of the UTOP Student Wellbeing Summit. Today's session is really focused on more on recruiting and retaining diverse staff, addressing disparities in wages across the UC that impede the school mission, and also campus safety talks with UCOP Director Jody Steiger, which is so fun. We'll be continuing up tomorrow with more talks centered around like discussions within our campus delegations on improving student mental health and well-being. Hopefully being able to provide a really big recap for next week's meeting. Yep, lovely.
Diego.
Everything will be written in my officer report, but shout out collaboration with TSR, our McNair Mellon Mays transfer workshop. If you know any transfers who are interested in research or interested in grad school, please tell them to pull up Thursday, October 24th from 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. in room 417. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy.
Yeah, everything's written, so yeah.
Chris Ramsey.
Hey everyone. So I know a lot of people have like meal access and Swipe Out Hunger as part of their platforms and different projects that you're working on. One thing that my office is trying to do is that like one of my platforms is that we want to have the Swipe Out Hunger like sign up process to just be like really easily accessible so that you can just sign up for it as you buy your like meal plan at the beginning of the school year or like the previous school year. Just to make it like much more simple, and that way like you can just have a much higher rate of people who actually sign up for the program. If anyone else is like currently working on something similar or does want to work together with me on that, just let me know. I don't want to have like multiple advocacy projects for the same thing that are happening like in parallel and separately from each other. So I think it's just important we have a united front for that. Otherwise, all my other reports are written.
Chris Spino.
I'll also just highlight something that my office did. We had a workshop with the Anderson School. And it went really well. We had a good turnout. One of my chief of staff worked on it. And it went really well. And for the rest, y'all can just reference my written report.
Sorry, who's next? Robbie.
You can look at my written reports.
Carden.
Hi, I have some quick updates. So I'm continuing conversations with Good Close Good People on their impending eviction of their space in USAC. I connected with various stakeholders on this issue, but so far we still do not have a viable solution, and they're set to be evicted out of their current space in SAC by the end of the quarter. So if anyone has any like leads or tips or thoughts, please send to me. Let me know if you want to help out on that. And then other than that, you can see my report. But I did want to shout out that we put on our first voting fair this Monday, and it featured 5 nonpartisan student orgs, and we informed students on how to register to vote. And we had, I think, 200 students turn out, so it was very exciting.
Thank you, Alicia.
I will keep it a little brief too. I really want to say ASUCLA, please respond to my emails for my EOLs in terms of my jazz concerts in the coffee house. We have a word on Wednesday tomorrow called Fuck Your Bands. Please pull up. Next week we have a Dia de los Muertos ofrenda in the gallery week long, and then a word on Wednesday. And we'll be doing a call for submissions so that we can print out photos of either your art or your family members. And on Word on Wednesday, it's a very safe space to just talk about what, that your loved ones meant to you, and mean to you. And yeah, the rest is on my office report.
Thank you, Alicia. Next, we have Alex.
Hi, everyone. I'll refer to my report, but I do have two updates. The first one is that we have our Learn to Write event, like Josh said, this Friday, October 25th, with trip times at 11 a.m., 12 p.m., 1 p.m., and 4:30 p.m. to a variety of destinations. So hopefully students will want to come and learn about the LA public transit system if they haven't used it already. And then the second update is that the Office Space Allocation Committee's October application is open and it closes on October 28th. And there's a very limited amount of space. So on the second slide on the publicity, and the link to that is in my report, we talk a little bit about the specific specific application. Sorry, my brain's not working. But yeah, specific things we're looking for due to the limited amount of space, I guess is the way I'll put that. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Next, we have Nico.
Everyone, the USA/BOD funding closes on Thursday at 5 p.m. for any student orgs out there, and then allocations will be at next Tuesday's meeting.
Thank you, Nico. Next, we have Kiara.
Yes, okay, so most of it could just read in my officer report. Just wanted to highlight a few things, upcoming things. Well, first, just want to say Health Coming was a huge success last week. Thank you to everyone who came. We had over 20 health and like basic needs groups, so like health services, but we also wanted to expand to student basic needs orgs this year. So they expanded to them, and we're able to give out like education, free resources for students. We had over 500 attendees, which was very exciting. And then we also had a retreat this weekend, which went well. But I wanted to highlight a few just upcoming things. Our peer support lounge welcome week is next week. So for anyone who does not know, our office doubles as the peer support lounge. So throughout the year, it is open at least 3 days a week, staffed by with our student staff there. It'll be open. It's open for any student to come get like free health prop-based products that we have, like free menstrual, safe sex items, the fentanyl test strips, also just snacks, water, it's just some things to rejuvenate during the day. And there's also study space in there as well. And of course, our staff who we're working on training to make sure they're aware of the different services on campus. But want to highlight that, and that specifically Tuesday is going to be a collaboration with the TSR office to make it Transfer Tuesday. So excited for that. And yeah, and then I also just put Brew Necessities, our basic needs committee. It will have a menstrual hygiene fair on November 7th and a dental hygiene fair on the 13th. But everything else you can refer to my written report.
Thank you, Kiara. Next, you have Mono.
Okay. I'm also going to keep mine super brief. The only thing I'll really highlight is the fact that the first meeting for this academic year of the Transfer Leadership Coalition is tomorrow at 5 to 6 p.m. in the Transfer Student Center. Please bump it to any transfers you know, especially if you know any transfer student organizations. Tell them to show up. There will be refreshments. It will be a good time. And also the TLC has done a lot of really great work in the past, and we're really excited to see it come up again and support it in coming back again this year. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have Tamim.
I'll also keep it super brief. We are working on a collaboration with an international airline company. and we had our meeting with the representative of this corporation like day before yesterday, and we're working on getting discounted airfares for UCLA students to countries in Asia. So that's going to be very helpful for students who are flying in and for them to get in a discounted airfare. Everything else will be in my written officer report.
Thank you. Now we're going to move on to admin reps with Orlando.
I wasn't following the rules. I turned it off. I apologize. No updates.
Jessica.
Hi, y'all. Just a quick reminder that on Thursday from 10 to noon in Ackerman 2410, we're hosting our funding chair training with SGA. So all of the funding chairs have received an invite, and we've heard back from some of them. But again, if anybody wants to send their finance chair or director in your office staff, please feel free to pass along the invitation. We're just going to go over the entire funding allocation process, rec process, all of that. And then from there, we'll start preparing for general rec process workshops for students trying to fill out the form and get their signatures. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Lori.
3 quick things. Rec opens for winter reservations on November 28th. And for those of you attending the fireside chat next week, I will see you there. And for those of you attending the admin mixer, I will see you there. And I will also see you at this meeting next week. So much time together.
And last, we have Jonathan.
Hey, hi, hello, all. A couple things from me today. Bumping your SFAC, that's the Student Fee Advisory Committee, and your SHAC, the Student Health Advisory Committee appointments. Those ones, they need ASAP. My student staff have requested for your written officer reports, if you could set the permissions of that to viewable to anyone on the internet. It seems like most of yours right now are just viewable to people within our G Suite organization. And since they have an ASUCLA email, they can't see it. We take down your officer reports every week as part of that transition packet that we gave you all earlier. So please do that. And if not, they will send a message out to you. Along with BOD and OSAC deadlines upcoming, the CS mini deadline, and that's okay. Yeah, it's coming. Okay, it's on the 25th. That is so soon on my UCLA. So please send student orgs that way. You might have saw Kendall sent some minutes from March out for your all's review. It was brought to our attention by a previous council member that these minutes were missing from the website, and we discovered that they were never distributed. This was your 8+ hour long meeting, so Sydney needed some weeks to work on it, and they were finished. It just seems they never got distributed and approved. So Kendall has distributed those to you all. Please feel free to review, and next week you will all vote to approve. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in front of Kirchhoff is the annual ASUCLA photo. It is all ASUCLA employees. You are not required by any instance, but you are more than welcome to show up, wear your UCLA gear should you care to, and be a part of the photo. It's on almost every single publication ASUCLA does, like all the time. Once you see it once, you'll recognize it. I forwarded you all an email, and I'm sure you're getting them also about all the things going on for Spooktacular in the Union. There's pumpkin carving, there's a food drive, there's a costume contest, and all involve prizes, which you/your offices could receive should you participate. So take a look at that. As Lori said, your admin mixer is in the LATC Clubhouse on the 31st next week from 3:30 to 5 p.m. And then my last two slightly go together. So I am so excited to announce that our student government support specialist is starting on Monday. Yes, that deserves a round of applause. Yeah.
What does that position entail?
So that position is so Fernando and I previously held the same title of student government support manager. This role will directly report to me. And they will be the main advisor for all the funding body chairs. The funding bodies are going to be like one of their gigantic focuses. Along with doing some contracting, and then being just your all's general advisor in the same way that Fernando and I both were. That person her name is Lorelei. She is coming to us from Cal Poly Pomona. Yes, she has previous student government and previous TGIF experience. So we're super excited to have her. I'm so excited to have her. So she'll be here next week, and she'll be around. You'll probably see me copy her on every single email that I send. Please bear with us as we train her on. But along with that are your fall one-on-ones. So you might recall we did one-on-ones at the beginning of your term. We do them every quarter. Previously, we had split you all up between Fernando, Jessica, and myself. This time around, and for the rest of the year, we're going to split you all up between myself and Lorelei. I will send this all out via Slack and email so that you have it. But for now, if you are OP, IVP, EVP, CSC, CAC, CEC, AAC, or SWC, you are with me. If you are TSR, ISR, FAC, FSC, Gen Rep 1, 2, or 3, or the FICOM chair, you are with Lorelei. For now, so these one-on-ones, we're going to ask you to sign up for a time during either week 5 or 6. And you're going to sign up everyone, regardless if you're with me or Lorelei, is going to sign up through my Calendly because Lorelei's not onboarded yet. And then once she gets her email and her accounts and such, then I'll transfer those calendar appointments that are for her over to her. Yeah, that's it. Have a good day.
Thank you, Jonathan. We're now going to, Alicia. Okay, we're going to move on to new business, starting with the potential discretionary fund transfer to ISU. So just some context, ISU has a big event. They applied to funding. We didn't have our funding spots filled, and now they're requesting money. I want this to be in like an open discussion, so whoever wants to chime in, just feel free to talk, no raising hands. I have two main concerns with this. First of all, it sets a precedent of us transferring monies to student orgs, which is precedent I don't want to set because discretionary is used for council stuff, Kirkhoff stuff, Ackerman stuff. But also this is a circumstance that was kind of our fault. So I see the argument otherwise. And also it's a lot of money. Jonathan, how much money do we have left in discretionary?
I did promise you I'd have the exact number by the time this came around, and then I got distracted.
It's 30,000 plus or minus.
It's at least 30,000.
Yeah. So it's like a significant amount of our remaining discretionary funds, but I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I just want to see what everyone thinks. So please feel free to chime in.
Hello? I was going to say, I feel like we should actually allocate the funds to them and make this a special circumstance. Just because, like Nalaya mentioned, the funds can be distributed back to us once they do actually get funding from these funding organizations, but their event is like at risk of actually being canceled tomorrow at 5 p.m. Just because right now they don't have any funding for their event except for like I think maybe $1,500, which is like a very small amount of what they actually need. So I feel like this is a good temporary solution to help make sure this event, which is super important, actually doesn't get canceled.
Jonathan.
It's $33,500.
Okay, thank you. If the money's transferred and then they receive funding, we can get this money back, right?
It wouldn't be transferred. It would just be like if and when they need to use it, they would fill out a rec that Adam would sign. So it's not money that's going to go anywhere until you actually fill out a rec for it.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Nico?
This isn't in like opposition to transferring the funds. I just want like for transparency, the USA/BOD fund followed the same schedule as last year despite the delay from the people at my.ucla. We just rushed allocation. Well, not rushed allocations, but we pushed everything up to give us like we're just gonna focus in and like lock in and look over all the applications in one sitting instead of taking a week. So we only give ourselves 1 day to look over everything. But other than that, like all the other deadlines stayed the same. But that was just for transparency. I'm not opposed.
I think it's mainly CPC that we're talking about. I will give Nilaya permission to talk in this case. You can come up.
So in my role for ISU, I have to go over all of the funding applications basically. And because I am also in the unique position of being a vice chair for another fund, I'm like well aware of the fact that like retroactive funding just like isn't a thing that we can do. And whenever I was looking at deadlines for USA BOD, the opening dates or the dates that applications would start to be reviewed was 1 day past when our event is. Or I might need to go back and check that, and I might be totally wrong on that, Nico.
My understanding though is we can't give funds until they're approved by council, right? So like it would be the
Right.
date they're approved, which would be next week.
That was my problem.
Oh, okay.
It was that like they can't be allocated like after the event has already occurred. So that's why we didn't apply to USA BOD because we knew that it wouldn't. Like I specifically, as someone who is also involved with funding, was like, there's no point in me even putting this application on their table when I know that they can't get it approved.
Any other thoughts? I think I'm fine with doing it. Sorry, you're covered by the computer, Chris Ramsey.
Yeah, it's all good. Just having served on the CBC in the past, I know that Adam, you've been sitting on some CBC meetings, I think, to reach quorum. I think Josh mentioned that to me.
We haven't had any yet.
Sorry?
We haven't had any CPC yet.
Oh,
We have
there
our
hasn't
first
been
one
any meetings yet.
scheduled for tomorrow.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'm just gonna say like if it's allowed to happen, and if it's needed to reach quorum in these meetings, I'm totally happy to like sit in on some CPC meetings, to help them reach quorum. I'm sure there's other USAC members who'd be willing to do that as well. So hopefully that helps in the future. This isn't about this specific situation, but just about like any future occurrences where that could happen.
Yeah,
'cause I
thank you
know
for
it's really
that.
important.
We have it filled now. I filled in the last spot, but we have people that applied that are going to be taking my spot. So I'm basically just sitting for the meeting tomorrow, which is the first round of allocations. But thank you anyways, Nilaya.
Just to make like one more comment, I've like been in your shoes before and I know I am also like so cognizant of the fact that this isn't good precedent to set. So I would totally understand whatever decisions that you guys make. I just also wanted to assure you that they're like fund use is something that is very important to me and I would not like there would be no abuse of fund and all funds would be like we wouldn't pull from it unless we needed to. Fortunately, just like coming to the room today and getting the opportunity to talk to a few more folks in person has opened up a few more avenues that I'm going to be sure to like follow up with again tomorrow. So in an attempt to like get more funding from those other sources, I will be sure to do that. But this is just so that I'm asking for any support in this space just so that we can make sure that our rentals are confirmed because otherwise we'll have the space and like literally no other support in terms of hosting this event, which always has over like 400 attendees.
I'm fine with approving, but I think we should set for the record, that the reasons why we're making a special exception, just because the funding problems are kind of our fault. Yeah, Tamim.
Yeah, I think so. We should definitely allocate like the Karba event is like one of the most signature events of ISU, which is hosted every single year, and the Indian community as well as like the South Asian community comes to the Wilson Plaza, I think. Okay, so yeah, they come and like, it's a huge celebration. It's a festival which is celebrated by many people. And it would be a shame like if we couldn't help in that. And they're put in such a predicament because of like the delays due to like us. It's not our problem, but like, the situation has arisen. So we should definitely like try to make a special exception. I understand that we should be transparent. So let us just put a post that why we are making this special exception, but I would push for allocating the funds.
I don't think we should do a post because if we do a post, if anything, that would just cause more student orgs to want more money from us. So I think just for the record, we're going to say now, we're only going to allocate this money because it's a special exception with timing delays and funding. And the money it's conditional. So there's a good chance we're going to get the money back anyways, just to make sure that the event can go through. With that being said, could we get a motion? Josh.
I motion to transfer $5,000 from the discussion.
It's not a transfer. It's allocates.
I motion to allocate $5,000 from the discretionary funds to ISU.
I second that motion. Oh, go ahead.
Josh motions, Chris Espino seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that motion passes. Yay.
Thank you so much.
Can someone please motion to move us into executive session?
I move to move us into executive session. Sorry.
Seconds.
I'll second.
Have emotions, Robbie seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that motion passes. And we are now in executive session. Could we stop the YouTube live? And could all non-USAC members please exit the room since we are